What happened? That's the second time in 78 days that has happened, where all of a sudden Facebook just died. Just went boop, gone. Are you guys back? I'm so sorry. I have no idea what happened. Oh, people are starting to come back. Sorry, guys. It went dead on my end, too. The whole thing. All of Facebook just went bloop and closed on my phone. But we're back. So come on back in the war room. Get back in here. I'm sorry, guys. Yes, I'm back, Lisa. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. Hey, Mike. Hey, Grace. It froze. It's back on. What's up, Mr. Rob Mack? How's the baby? Good? Hey, Gomez. Part deux, says Tim. Exactly. I don't know what happened. Yes, I'm back. I apologize. I have no idea why Facebook just... Maybe there's a time limit? No, because we're not even at an hour yet. And we've gone an hour many, many, many times here in the war room. I don't know... Kimberly says, go watch the news. Kimberly, why do I need to see the news? What's going on that I haven't seen in the last hour? We broke the internet, says Paul. Yeah. Hey, Jen, thank you for coming back. Take two. I feel like I didn't miss a half hour because of the walk I took. No. Hey, Sammy. It's back on. Yes. Okay. Went out, came back on. Yeah, I have no idea what happened. Zuckerberg silenced you, says Joe. That's pretty funny. The feds. The war room cannot be stopped. Look, everyone is hypersensitive now. Yes, it's Facebook. They do that. Why do they do that? I don't understand. You got censored. It says, well, I doubt that that's... Look, I passed a Pentagon background check not once but twice to get embedded overseas. Actually, I passed the background check 3 times because I was supposed to go on a 3rd trip, which I've told you guys about. In 2017 that got canceled a few days before I was supposed to leave. So I've passed 3 background checks. So protests on all of the TV channels here in Charlotte, North Carolina, says Dawn. 3 hours is the time limit. Yeah, we didn't even get close to 3 hours. Gave me time to grab another limoncello. Fantastic, Sarah. That's awesome. What's up, Mo? Another one of my Afghanistan buddies chiming in. Michelle says, chanting, give peace a chance. Sorry, Jamie. Powell, I don't think the Facebook police are trying to censor my words. I'm not saying anything controversial. I'm saying what I think most of us are feeling is that we know that there are problems in this country. Hey, Lisa, we know that there are things that are wrong, but I think there are enough of us that care, that want to be supportive, and we want things to be better. I know that there are a lot of people that are watching this that are my personal friends that are police officers, firefighters, paramedics, they're first responders, and they are also veterans. And I know that they don't put uniforms on every day because they want to go out and be assholes. I know so many of these people that have literally put their lives on the line, and I have watched them in war zones literally put their lives in each other's hands. And those lives that they've put in the hands of other people, those hands have been black, white, Asian, Hispanic, gay, straight, male, female, Christian, Jewish, Muslim. I have seen what America can be because I've watched people of all different races, nationalities, sexualities, creeds take off their street clothes and put their uniform on with a United States flag on it and be willing to die for the person next to them, no matter what that person looked like or acted like or believed, because that's what was required of them, and those people are their brothers. Whether they're men or women, they're brothers. It's a brotherhood. And I've watched it with my own eyes. And we all bleed the same blood, says Michelle. Exactly. And with that comes responsibility. You know, and I've seen a lot of my law enforcement friends say the same thing, that You know, these horrific actions by these shitty cops do not represent all of law enforcement. And then I've seen a lot of people say, then it is up to the good cops, of which they are the massive majority, to not stand by like those other officers did and to say something when someone has their knee on someone's neck for 9 minutes. And that's the responsibility that we're all being asked to have now, is to be our brother's keeper, is to look out for one another, and to demand that everyone be treated. I read this unbelievable post today by a man, a father, a husband that's African American. And I didn't share the post, and now I wish I did, because I want to give him credit for his beautiful words. But basically, he lives in middle-class suburban America. And he wrote this whole thing online about how when he wants to go for a walk in his neighborhood, that he takes his daughter and his little fluffy dog with him. Because when he's walking holding his daughter's hand and he's got the leash on his little fluffy dog, he's not a scary person. He's not a black man to be feared. He's a father and a family man. But he wrote in this whole long piece that he would never go for that same walk without his beautiful daughter and his cute little dog, because then he feels like he is vulnerable, because he would be viewed as a big, scary black man in America. And that as much as he wants to just be able to go for a walk in a neighborhood where he owns a home with his wife and his kids and his cute little fluffy dog, that he doesn't do that because he's afraid of how people will treat him in his own fucking neighborhood. And so when he walks his neighborhood, he walks with his daughter and his dog, who he feels he should be protecting, but in that instance, they protect him. And I read this today, and it just struck me, because when I walk Wednesday in my neighborhood, I don't think about it. Now, as a woman in America, I make sure that I'm able to protect myself because I'm walking alone with a not intimidating 16-pound pug that thinks she's all that. But I too worry when I leave the house, because I'm a woman, and bad things happen to women when they walk by themselves. But I read this man's post, and it really struck me today, because I was like, what the fuck? That you don't even know who the hell your neighbors are. That this guy could even be afraid in his own neighborhood where he owns property, that his own neighbors might be fearful enough that they would call the cops on him, or think that he didn't belong there. And my heart broke for this gentleman, because he should be able to walk around in his own goddamn neighborhood without his daughter and his dog as protection. And so I wanted to talk about it tonight in the War Room, because I remember, I'll tell you this funny story, and obviously it's not anything, I'm not comparing my experience to this gentleman's experience or anyone else's experience that's African American in the United States. But when I moved into my neighborhood 10 years ago, the house that I bought had been on the market for a while. And the real estate agent for the seller had gone around the neighborhood and told all the neighbors, because you know how neighbors are, you know? And they were like, we heard the house finally sold. And the real estate agent told everybody in the neighborhood, yeah, I'm really sorry, this purple-haired rock DJ bought the house, and I hope she doesn't throw these crazy parties, and I hope she's not too loud, but you know, the sellers really wanted to sell the house, so they sold it to her. And so the day that the moving trucks arrived for me to move into my house, all of the neighbors showed up, because they wanted to know who this crazy purple-haired girl was that was moving into the neighborhood, because they wanted to let me know that they appreciated the quietness of the neighborhood, and they were hoping that, you know, that I wasn't going to be disruptive in the neighborhood, because all they had heard about me was either that I was this crazy purple-haired rock DJ, or if they knew who I was, they were like, oh shit, there goes the neighborhood kind of thing. Now, within 5 seconds, I was like, hey guys, come on in the house, and had cold beers for them and showed them around. Then I found out that they had always wondered what the house looked like because the woman that owned it before me had never invited them inside and had never gone out of her way to befriend the neighbors. And I was like, listen, I wanted to live in this neighborhood because I wanted to be part of this community. And now I have this amazing relationship with all of my neighbors. And as new people move into the neighborhood, I've been the one that shows up with little welcome baskets with my homemade tomato sauce and my cookies at Christmas. And I go around to the neighbors and I introduce myself because I look out for them the way that I would hope they would look out for me. And it shocked me that not every neighborhood is like that. That someone would call the cops on someone for walking by because they didn't recognize them as their own neighbor, regardless of their race or whatever, but especially that you would just see a black man walking through your neighborhood and call the cops because he wanted to go for a walk in a neighborhood where he owns his house. And so for us that can't imagine what that would be like, we have to have empathy for that. Get to know your fucking neighbors. We just are going through a pandemic. We should all be looking out for our neighbors. We should be looking out for the elderly and the immunocompromised, and we should know who lives around us so that if they need help, we can offer that help to them. And I read this thing today and I was just like, I can't imagine what that man feels like, that he needs his cute daughter and her pigtails and his little fluffy dog as a shield so as not to scare the people in his neighborhood when he decides to go for a walk. And so for those of us that can't imagine what it's like to be an African American man in this country right now, get to know your goddamn neighbors so that you can have their back the way that they should have yours. We have to look out for each other. That's what that flag means. That's why my friends enlisted in the military, is to protect the Constitution that is supposed to protect us all equally. I know that it might sound naive coming from a white woman in Massachusetts, and that I can't imagine what it would be like for an African American man in other parts of the country, but maybe I'm naive in thinking that I still have faith in America, that the flag still protects all of us, that the Constitution still protects all of us, that the justice scales and are still supposed to be weighted equally for all of us. And I'm not naive enough to think that they all are. And that experience is equal right now. But I have faith that if enough of us say and demand that Americans are all treated equally, that we will all be treated equally. And I'm not just talking about race. I'm talking about gender. I'm talking about religion. This is where we're all supposed to be able to be, however we choose to be. That's the whole reason this country is here. Like, that's why we're fucking awesome, is that we're supposed to be able to live here however we want to live. And to know that the Constitution protects us all equally, and that our troops are protecting us all equally, and that our law enforcement is supposed to protect us all equally. And we're also supposed to be able to speak up when that protection isn't equal, and we're supposed to rectify and remedy that. I wish it protected everyone equally, but hold on. But if we all insisted than it did, then we would get closer to fulfilling that dream. Exactly, Brianna. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's up to white people to stick up for black people. It's up to men to stick up for women. It's up to straight people to stick up for gay people. It's up for Christians to stick up for Jews and Muslims. Like, we all have to stick up for each other. That's what we're supposed to do. We are better than what is happening right now. And I, with 100% of my soul, believe that we can be better than this. And I'm not a person that, faith comes easily to. But I have faith that we can all be better than this. And I'm not whining, Nate. I don't know why I'm not whining. I'm just trying to make America what its promise is, what it's supposed to be. This is what it's supposed to be. And we have to get there, because watching ourselves, if you're a patriotic person and you're like, go America, what's happening right now is making us weaker for our enemies. I mean, this is how you weaken a strong nation, is to break it apart from within. We have to be better than that. Melissa, we have been divided for too long. I mean, that's what this community is here. That's what we're all supposed to be, I don't... Yeah, be human, Dawn. Exactly. We're human beings at the end of the fucking day, Bridget. Exactly. No need to be rude here, says Kay. You know what? You can be rude if you want. You're just going to make yourself look like an asshole. If you are living in the United States right now and you are not bothered by what is going on, there's something wrong with you. Period. End of story. There's something wrong when you see a police officer put his knee on the neck of a person that is in handcuffs for 9 minutes. Every cop I know, every single one, and I am blessed to know more than I can count, every single one of them is like, that is not what you were supposed to do. That is not what we are trained for. That is wrong. 100% wrong. In every stretch of the imagination, it's wrong. Every single cop I know. And these aren't just white cops. And they're not just men. I am honored and blessed to know so many law enforcement officers that do the right thing every fucking day. Every day. Russia is loving this, says Mark. Yeah. Yeah. All of our enemies are fucking loving it right now. They're just sitting back, popping the popcorn, watching us fuck each other up in our own goddamn country. But it should bother all of us. What are we supposed to do? Just sit back and fucking pop popcorn and make dick jokes? I mean, yeah, I guess we can do that, but I mean, eventually, what's going to be left? Like, what are all of our generations before us? What was all that sacrifice for? And I don't just mean military service sacrifice. I mean our grandparents and great-grandparents making it through the Depression. I mean all of the sacrifices of all of the people that have come before us, our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, people that immigrated here on the promise of a new life and found that new life and succeeded. The American dream, like... It's been hundreds of years, and if we're just going to sit back and not try to do anything about it, what was it all for? We have to be better than that. And the only thing that we can do to not feel fucking helpless is to try and help the people that we're around every day. So that's why I wanted to talk to you about it. No, and rioting isn't the answer either. I 100% agree with you, which is why I wanted to talk to you guys about it, because there's a protest scheduled in Boston tomorrow night. And I'm really hoping that a large group of people gather peacefully to make their voices heard and stand in support of their fellow Americans, because that's what the United States was founded on. 100% make your voices heard. Yes, demand change. But hurting other people, destroying things. I'm trying to imagine what it's like to be raising kids right now. And trying to explain all of this to them. And how it's going to affect these kids when they get older. You know, how do we explain all of this? What's going on? I mean, and I'm not just, I mean, the virus, the violence that is literally on TV all the time. So the whole reason why I'm not trying to preach to you guys, I'm just saying this because we've been in the house for fucking months, and it's really easy to feel useless and feel like the problem is too big and that it can't be solved. But it can be. And you can solve it one little bit at a time. When I read this post today on Facebook about that gentleman that didn't want to walk through his own neighborhood without his daughter and his dog, it made me say, why don't you know your neighbors better? And it's something that I am going to do too, is to go out and meet more. Like, I know my neighbors, you know what I mean? But to maybe make that neighborhood a little bit bigger, and to go and meet the people that I haven't met yet, and to make sure that I'm reaching out to those people. Even the people that I scare by ringing your doorbell unexpectedly around the holidays to bring you cookies, which did happen to one of my neighbors last year because they just moved into the neighborhood and they saw the purple-haired girl in a Santa hat at 8:30 at night, and they looked through the blinds and were like, what the fuck? And I was like, hi, I just wanted to say hi and bring you cookies. And I think that weirded them out. But maybe we need to weird out our neighbors a little bit more by bringing them fucking cookies. Yeah, you're right. Looting and rioting is not protesting, but protesting is what this country was founded on. Take pride in the fact that we have the right to fucking protest. There's a lot of people that don't, and a lot of people that died, good people died for the right for us to protest. It's very American to protest. But looting and rioting is not protesting. It's different. We need more love right now, says Emily, 100%. You have my address now. I want cookies, says Scott. You should have wore the Easter Bunny suit. Don't joke, Tony, because I have delivered cookies to my neighbors wearing costumes. It has happened. Now I want cookies, says Mark. You can always bring me cookies, says Linda. It's sad how many businesses got lost. I know. It really is. But it was beautiful to watch the people of Minneapolis today show up with brooms to help those business owners clean up and rebuild. And that is what's amazing about this country, is that we have always found a way through the hardest of times to come together. And I thought we were just battling the coronavirus, but this battle is way, way, way bigger. The world has really changed in the last few months for all of us. And Kathy says, peaceful protesting spread kindness. Yeah. Yeah. We have to support each other. And love each other and make sure that everyone is equal. And if you see someone not being treated equally, then it's our responsibility to speak up for that. That's our responsibility. So let's do that, because we can be better than this. That's why you guys are awesome, because that's what you guys do. That's what we do here every night. You know, won't you be my neighbor, says Melanie. Protesting shouldn't ruin property and jeopardize other people's lives. Now, I understand. Trust me, I get it. I get it. But you know, it's not going to make anything better, Jenny. No, and I 100% agree. But I think that what's going on right now, it needs, there's a greater underlying problem. And this can has been kicked down the road, and people have just not been willing to talk about it. You know, we have a race problem in this country. As stupid as that sounds, coming from the white girl on the internet. But we all have a responsibility to fucking just fix this already, you know? It's 2020. Seriously. What the fuck? We are better than this. Our country is better than this. We are all better than this. We all know better. I want to tell you guys a story about my mom. And I'm going to warn you that it makes me cry every time I tell this story. I will preface this story by saying that my parents had me young. My mom was 19. when she had me. My parents were married. You know, my mom had already gone to nursing school. I get my work ethic from my parents, trust me. This memory is so vivid in my mind. I could not have been more than 3 or 4. And I was in line at the supermarket with my mom. And there was a black man in front of us at the supermarket. And I had never seen a black man before. I was 3 or 4 years old. And you know how kids ask questions with their outside voice really fucking loud and inappropriately? Because they're honest and kids just don't have a filter. And I asked my mom why he was so black. And I will never forget the man in line at the supermarket look back at my mother, who could not have been older than 22 or 23 years old herself. And he wasn't angry. He was really inquisitive as to how my mother was going to answer this innocent question from a small child. And my mom said, well, honey, you know how there are brown eggs and there are white eggs? And sometimes around Easter, there's pink eggs and purple eggs and green eggs. And I said, yep. And she said, what happens when you crack all those eggs open? What color is the yolk inside? And I said, yellow. And she goes, well, that's just like people. They're all different colored shells, but the yolks on the inside are all the same. And that memory is one of my earliest memories of my childhood. And I will never forget that man's face looking back at my mom with this love. He just looked at her with just love. And I was a kid. I was 3. I didn't know. And I just was like, oh, okay. Totally made sense to me. Like, just totally made sense to me. I remember being older and something was on the news. You know, my mom worked 3 to 11 as a nurse, and my grandfather, who I've talked to you guys about many times, that was in the Navy, used to babysit me a lot. And there was something on the news, a story about racism. So I don't remember. I was a kid. But I remember my grandfather saying almost under his breath, like he wanted to, it wasn't under his breath, but he wasn't yelling. But I was sitting there watching the news with him. And I remember him just in a very kind of calm way. I remember him just kind of looking at me and saying, I didn't fight in 2 wars for this country for my fellow Americans to be treated that way. And again, here is a man that I know spent so much time on a ship through horrendous times in World War II and Korea. And these were not equal times for people, especially not in the Navy, in the 40s. But I remember my grandfather saying that, like, I fought in 2 wars for all Americans. And these are the things that I think about when I watch the news and when I read all of these posts. Like, I think about these lessons that I learned, and I'm so grateful that I learned these lessons from my family growing up. And it shocks me that there are people that didn't learn those lessons at an early age. It shocks me. It disappoints me. Brianna says, my grandfather was so racist and it made me work so hard not to be like him. I have people like that in my family too. And I'm really sorry that I get so upset when I talk about this stuff, but I just wasn't raised to think of anything other than people being fellow Americans, you know? And I have just always looked at people that way. But that lesson in the supermarket with my mom, I look back on it now and I think, wow, she was only like 22 years old, 23 years old, like standing there with a 3-year-old asking a completely innocent but somewhat inappropriate question in line at the supermarket. She handled it with such grace and class and was able to express that in a way that I could understand. And she made sure that everyone in line heard it, including the man that I was asking about. And I just really wanted to tell you guys that story tonight because I just felt like it was important. So, yeah, I wear my heart on my sleeve. You guys know this by now. I cry at the drop of a hat. I'm sentimental, but don't fucking cross me because I get really pissed. Your mom did the right thing, says Frank. 100%. I know she did the right thing. It was an amazing way to answer a question. And I've always remembered the lesson. The yolk is yellow on the inside of all of the eggs. Mic drop. End of story. Thank you, Joe. I'll take the virtual hug. I appreciate that. So I just really want you guys to know how much I appreciate you. And I wanted to try to talk to you guys so that, you know, maybe tomorrow, you know, you say hi to a neighbor you haven't talked to before. And then maybe that neighbor will say hi to a neighbor they haven't talked to before. And so on until there aren't people that are afraid to walk in their own neighborhood and feel like they need to take their little daughter and their dog with them to make people not afraid of them. Let's do that. Let's be like that. That would be awesome. Lisa says, I may use that, what your mom said, especially with my 3 granddaughters, absolutely wonderful way to explain it. I mean, seriously, it's so simple. You know? So let's just, everybody, be a little bit nicer, a little bit more supportive, but demand better. We need to demand better of ourselves and everyone around us and our country. We need to just all be better right now. Me included. We just need to be better. Scott says, my neighbor brings me a beer when I mow the lawn. You know? It's fucking cool, man. Let's bring beers to our neighbors when they mow the lawn. Let's do that more. Thanks, Carrie. I appreciate that. Now, if you're a rabbit in the front yard, that's a different situation. This is what I'm dealing with out here. Seriously. Less judgment, a little more love, a little bit more understanding. I always say hello to my neighbors every day. Let's just do that. Let's be kinder. Let's be nicer. Let's be more supportive for everybody. Let's be more supportive for everybody. You know, I will say this, Lynn, about your comment. We all need to practice being colorblind. I read something really great on the internet today. Being colorblind isn't necessarily the best thing we can be. Because if you're colorblind, then you're not even acknowledging the color. And these times require us to acknowledge the color. You know what I mean? Like we need to understand, you know, there are people that have grandparents that couldn't drink out of the same water fountain. I mean, there were people on my grandfather's ship in World War II that were not allowed to have the same job or use the same toilet. Like, being blind to the color isn't going to fix the problem. You have to see the color and then demand better for the color, for all the colors. So colorblind isn't necessarily going to fix the problem. It might make it worse. Like, we need to see everything, not be blind to everything. We need to acknowledge everything. I understand what you're saying. is that we need to get to the point where the color doesn't matter, but unfortunately we live in a world right now where it kind of still does. And we need to acknowledge that and just admit it and accept it and move forward to the point where colorblind is an actual thing we all get to be. You know, I know, I don't have any of the answers. And like I said, this is coming from the white girl on the internet. I'm just trying to be a better person myself. Yeah. We need to see the yellow yolk. Yeah, look for the yolk. Can we just look for that? And I don't even necessarily, you know, there's some words where you kind of don't like saying them. Like the word yolk is one of those words that I don't necessarily like. Like there are a lot of girls that don't like the word panties, but they get like, ugh, like yolk is just like a weird word. But yeah, like let's get to the point where we're looking at the yolk and not the shell. That would be great if we could do that. It would also be great if we could stop barking at the bunnies in the front yard. That would be awesome too. Because that's what makes Mama want to drink Wednesday. Wednesday! Come here! Get over here! Come on. What are you yelling at? She knows she's barking at nothing. Hi, Zero. What's all the noise about? Huh? Come over here. Come over here. Come here and say hi to everybody. Yeah, the word moist. You know what I'm talking about, Carrie. Come here. Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Hello, my little old girlfriend. Wednesday's big best friend. Right? Sit down. Sit. Sit down and say hi to everybody. Sit. Good girl. Good girl. Okay, you don't have to stay with me if you don't want. See, now you guys are purposefully saying moist and moist panties and all of that stuff. Thanks, Jennifer, the white girl on the internet whose yolk is the same as us. Yeah. Yeah, you guys get it. I'm glad you like the egg analogy. That story makes me happy about my mom. It's a good story. So you have a little over 24 hours to get your Cocktails in the War Room t-shirt orders in, because I will shut it down tomorrow night at midnight. I can only feed so many meatballs to my aunt and my mom to bribe them to pack these envelopes. So get your t-shirt orders in. I will do what I can to maybe give you guys a tour of MCHQ on Monday. We'll see. And Tuesday, Mike Shue is going to join us right here on the couch. I am so freaking excited that Mike Shue is going to be here. Like, I miss him so much. And when I texted him and I was like, will you please come in the war room? Like, I was like, oh, please don't be busy. Please, you know, whatever. And he was like, yeah, do you want me to come early with drinks? And I was like, that's exactly the response I wanted from you, dude. Yes, I want you to come early with drinks, 100%. So I'm super excited about that. I mean, it's been really strange just talking into my phone for the last 78 nights. It's going to be really weird having someone here to talk to with me, with you guys. Odd, strange, but going to be awesome. And then I'm really looking forward to all of the things that we are going to do together moving forward. You know, I'm super excited about all of the plans. And so thank you guys for getting the podcast to number 7 on the music podcast on Apple today. That blew my mind. I was like, what? We haven't even put up an episode yet, but the episodes are coming. Thank you guys so much for just being so amazing and supportive and generous and gracious and emotionally available and badass. And please, tomorrow in Boston, for the people that are going to be getting together to exercise their rights to protest, just please have your voices heard in a safe, violence-free manner. please, I don't want to hear horrible stories coming out of our city. So please be good to each other tomorrow. I'll meet you back here tomorrow night at 8:30. Have a great night. And just in case there's internet in space and Bob and Doug are watching Cocktails in the War Room, what's up to the International Space Station and our astronauts on the Dragon? And you guys made us proud today. That was one hell of a launch. Fucking badasses. So I'm going to go deal with the bunnies. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I love you.